Change man for life, man. Mr. McGrath, what's happening, brother?
God bless you, brother. How are you, man? Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, man. Hey guys, so for those of you who don't know, man, a lot of the people I've been having on recently, this last 2 weeks or so, it's kind of like, I didn't plan this out. It's just, man, they've all been lifers, man, and they've all been lifers that got out of prison, man, and served a gang of time, and most of them been affiliated somehow in the gang life. And yeah, man. And so this is actually part two of his story. I'm going to be putting part one down below so you guys can check it out later. So I want you guys to, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and share this video, man, on your social media, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, whatever it would be, man. Please share the link, help get the word out. The story needs to be told. So my brother right here, we're gonna get going. We're gonna get going, man. Thanks for coming on, bro.
Of course, my pleasure. Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah. So, man, let me tell you kind of where we left off, man. We're talking about Palmas, the Antelope Valley, and it was a situation going off where unfortunately somebody lost their life, and my brother right here ended up getting a life sentence, man. Ended up getting a life sentence, and it was a sad situation. Ended up in prison, did all that stuff. And where we're at in the story now, man, is that he had been doing okay. His points dropped a little. He was able to get down to the level 2 in the dorm living. With that, I'm sorry, guys. With that, I'm gonna pass it on to you, man. That's where my voice is going. So I'm gonna pass it on to you. Let you take over, and I'll jump in here and there, man.
All
Take
right,
over,
sounds
brother.
good. God bless you, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate all the support I received from the first video, from part one. Like I was telling Paul, I got a lot of positive feedback. Got a few new subscribers on my channel, so I appreciate that very much. If I could really quick give a shout out, I don't know if you guys can see my shirt. It says Pillar of Fire. I want to say what's up to the Pillar of Fire Church down there in San Diego. It's a church that was founded by some lifers that were with me in prison. They got out, Christian brothers started a ministry, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on the significance of Pillar of Fire as I tell the story. So like the brother said, at this point in the story, I had just recently touched down on a level 2. I had done 19 years. Prior to that, at this point, I already had 20 years in, 14 of those years on level 4, 5 years on level 3, and now I got my points down to level 2. As he said, I was in prison with a life sentence for a first-degree gang-related murder. My sentence was 30 years to life, 25 to life for the actual murder, and a 5-year gun allegation. That was a deal that I took. I was facing the death penalty because it was a murder committed during a robbery. So we were death penalty eligible, my crimies and I ended up taking a deal for 30 to life. So here I am, newly arrived to Chuckawalla Valley State Prison, level 2, out in the Blythe Desert. At this point, I was still what is called now, the terminology has changed so much, bro, throughout the time in prison. Now it's active. You're an active, or you're non-active, or whatever. At the time, I was a active homie. I was a Southerner doing what Southerners do. By the time I got to level 2, I was a little bit older already. I was 40 when I got there, so I wasn't, frontlining it, raising my hand like I was early in my term and all that. But I was still programming with the fellas. So I get to level 2, and it's a whole new world for me. It's a dorm. I'm used to being in a cell, having my own privacy, my own space, just me and my cellie. Now here I am in an open dorm with like 200 people. It's loud. There's constant movement. So it was an adjustment period for me. I believe where I actually left off at in the story was I started reconnecting with some cats that I had knew earlier in my term, some dudes that I had done level 4 time with, that I had done shoe turns with, that were, legit gangsters, you know what I mean? Straight killers with the business, programming, doing what it do. And now I run into them on level 2, and they're different. I'm noticing that the way they carry themselves is different. The way they're talking is different. Their attitudes are different. Their body language, everything about them is different. And I really don't, at the time, understand what it is, right? But these dudes started inviting me to church. Hey, come check out the church. And I'm like, what church? I'm cool. You know what I mean? What you talking about church? I ain't scared. I ain't going to church. You know that little phrase they say, if you're scared, go to church. I ain't scared. What am I going to go to church for? So you know, they would every once in a while, come on, come check out the church, whatever. I'm cool. So one day, there's night yard there for us on the level 2. That was one of the things I enjoyed about it, was getting to go out at night yard. So the yard's getting ready to open for night yard, and one of the fellas comes and tells me, "Hey, we're gonna go to the chapel." And I'm like, "Well, what's up in the chapel?" He said, so there's a brother there. We called him Zach. His name is Zach. That's not his nickname, but that's what we called him, Zach. He was a lifer too, gang member. He was in there for murder. A dude that was known, you know, for participating in stuff in prison and having a little bit of a name. You know what I mean? He had become a Christian, and he was going to be giving his testimony for the first time that night in the chapel. So a lot of the fellas were going to go just to lend their support because they knew him back in the day. They knew him when he was involved in all this stuff. So they just wanted to go lend their support. And they were telling me, come on, let's go check the homie out and give his testimony. And I was like, what? I'm cool. You know what I mean? I didn't even really know him like that. So and I was, had no interest in church at the time. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm cool. You guys go ahead. So the yard opened. Everybody broke for the chapel. So I'm there in the dorm. I'm looking around. It's like everybody that I kick it with, everybody that I go to the night yard with was gone. They had went to the chapel to listen to homeboy's testimony. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll go check it out. So I throw my blues on and I take off over there. I get there, and it's a little small chapel, but it's packed out, full of people. I end up getting a seat way in the back. Coming in late, of course, I get a seat way in the back. And homeboy's giving his testimony, and he's talking about his drug addiction and the things he's done, the crimes he's committed, and how God changed his life. And he started crying, bro. He broke down and he was crying just out of gratefulness for what God has done in his life, and out of repentance, as he's talking about how he used to shoot heroin into his veins and how he killed people and all the stuff that he did, and that Jesus died on the cross for him. And at the time, I don't understand none of that. Well, I'm just listening, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. But I'm getting like this little bit of guilty feeling myself, right? Which I now understand was like the pricking of the Holy Spirit. But at the time, I didn't know that. I'm just wondering, like, why am I feeling this way? But I started thinking about the life I had lived and the life I was living. And this was the first time, bro, where I actually felt bad about what I had done. I know in the part 1, you asked me, at the moment, what was my mindset? What was my thought process of taking someone's life? And at that time, like I said, I didn't care. It was like, oh, well, that's what you get. But this was the first time where I really started to feel remorse. Like, dang, you killed somebody. You took somebody's life. You destroyed somebody's family. You know what I mean? So I listened to his testimony, and that was that. It lasted like a little 20 minutes, whatever. We break to the yard and go do what we do, work out, hang out, handball, all that kind of stuff. And so some days go by, and it never, occurred to me again to go back to church. But little by little, like I said, the fellas keep inviting me. Hey, come check out the church. And I kept thinking, like, why was I feeling like that night? To me, it was weird to me. You know what I mean? It was a feeling I never experienced before. So I was just kind of like, trying to figure out where that came from, what that was. So I went and talked to homeboy, to Zach, and told him, hey, thanks for sharing your story and all that. And I told him, what I had been feeling. And I was like, what was that? And he told me, he goes, that's what I felt the first time that I heard somebody give their testimony. He goes, that's God trying to connect with you. And I was like, well, whatever. That didn't make no sense. You know what I mean? So I just kept, going about my daily thing. At that time, I was still getting high, still claiming my neighborhood, still introducing myself by a nickname, routine, all that kind of stuff, still doing what the fellas do. But little by little, I'm really starting to think more and more about my past, the things I've done, what is my future going to be like. I had also mentioned last time that this was the first time I seen a lifer go home. Right around this time, I seen a lifer walk out the gate for the first time. So that kind of gave me some hope. I was just kind of tripping, like, dang. But in the back of my mind, I was like, oh yeah, he got action, but that'll never happen for me, whatever, And just as time kept going by, I was working right there in the kitchen, and then I ended up working in the canteen. and it was just daily life, and then another lifer went home, and then another lifer went home. So now it's like, oh dang, there's really a chance. So I start talking to the dudes that have been there on a level 2 programming, like lifer programming, you know what I mean? Doing groups and going to school and going to parole board hearings and all that. So now I'm starting to like ask them questions and spend time with them and like, what do I got to do? So they start directing me, hey, you got to take this self-help class and take this. So I start signing up for these classes, and coincidence, they're all in the chapel. All these classes are run out of the chapel. They're all run by the chaplain and the Christian brothers there on the yard. So I'm there, and in my mind, I'm there to do these classes in order to try to someday go home. Little do I know I'm being fed, because of all the classes, in order to be run through the chapel, had to be Christian-based, right? But at the time, I'm not even tripping on that. I'm just like, okay, I need to take these classes, get these certificates in my file, and hopefully be able to go home someday. I'm still not really, thinking there's hope, but I had taken on this mindset now that, okay, if they don't ever let me out, that's cool, but it's not going to be because I didn't do the work that they want. You know what I mean? I'm not going
Just
to.
really quick, how long have you been down at this time?
At this time, so this is like 2011, 2012, around there. So I've been down like 21, 22 years. Like 21, 22 years.
And what was your entry date again, just for the people watching?
I went to prison in June. I got arrested in June of 1991. Caught the chain 2 months later in August of 1991 was my first day in prison.
Okay.
I was 21 years old at the time.
Yeah, sorry for stopping you, man. Please.
No, it's all good. So now here we are, 22 years later, 21 years later. Oh man, like I said, I had a glimmer of hope that maybe someday I would go home, but I still wasn't, really confident. But I was gonna do the work that way that if I never did come home, it couldn't be something that was in my hands. You know what I mean? So I'm taking these classes and programming, staying out of trouble, functioning with the other lifers that are going to groups and all that, and I'm functioning with the Christian brothers that are in these groups. And little by little, I just start. It wasn't even really conscious, bro, that I started spending a lot of time in the chapel and spending a lot of time around the Christian brothers. In my mind, it's just for board preparation. You know what I mean? It's just like I'm looking forward to the board. So I start actually really plugging in with the Christian brothers now. I still haven't like come out and announced, hey, I'm a Christian now. I haven't disassociated myself officially from my neighborhood, from the fellas there. But I am functioning with the Christian brothers right there. I'm starting to go to church, starting to attend services, starting to go to Bible study. And at the time, I'm just looking at it as like educational stuff. I'm just going to check out something new and learn. And that's in my head, that's what it was, right? So I started exclusively now hanging around with the Christian brothers and going to church and all that. And, I still function with the fellas, with the homies, and hey, what's up? And but I wasn't really. I had slowed down on getting high and slowed down on the madness, the talk, and being nosy about what's going on and all that. And I'm really getting into reading the Word and studying and all that. And now I'm to the point where I'm going to intercessory prayer. We had intercessory prayer every Tuesday in the chapel. So I would go to intercessory prayer every Tuesday. And for those that don't know what intercessory prayer is you go and we pray for the needs of others. We intercede on the behalf of others. So people would go and they'd make their needs known and we would pray for them or whatever. So one particular day, we would do this at 3 o'clock. They have shift change around 2:30, and then they reopen the yard at 3. And then on Tuesdays, we would take off to the chapel for intercessory prayer. Well, this particular day, the yard didn't open because they were short of staff or something. So we ended up having intercessory prayer right there in the housing unit, right there in the dorm. So we go down there to the dorm. It's a circle of about like maybe 10, 15 guys, right? And in the circle, there's every race that's in prison is in that circle. There's white Christians in that circle. There's blacks, there's Asians, Mexicans, there's everybody right there, right? So we're in a circle and we're holding hands and we're praying right there in the middle of the building, lifting up people's petitions and praying, right? So we're there for probably about like 10, 15 minutes. And then we close out in prayer. Everybody's hugging, all right, boom. And I start pushing back to my cube, right? The whole time it doesn't occur to me that I'm in the middle of the building with 200 people watching me hold hands with people of other races praying. When I got to my cube, it snapped to me, and I was like, oh, dang. That's the first time I've been like in public doing this, right? You guys can't see her, but my wife is over here on the side laughing because she knows this story. She's heard this story. She's over here on the side giggling at me. So I get back to my cube, and now I'm starting to kind of worry a little bit, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I'm kind of like tripping, like, dang, you know, what's gonna happen now? Because now I'm out there, everybody doesn't see me, and I'm doing something that's not normally done by someone that's programming with the homies, or they're holding hands with other races and praying, and you know, that's something typically you don't see a Southerner doing. So sure enough, I look down the tier. Here they come. The homie that got the yard right there, and like 3 dudes coming with them. And they're pushing. They're coming straight towards me. I'm looking around, and I'm like, yeah, they're coming towards me. So now all these thoughts are going through my head like, dang, what's about to happen? Am I about to get whacked? Am I going to get jumped on? What's going on, right? So I'm kind of bracing myself, you know, and they come, and homeboy gets right up on me, and he gets like right up in my face, and he's like, hey, and he calls me by my nickname. And he says, hey, so what's up? Are you a Christian now or something? And it's like everything went into slow motion, bro. Everything just like got surreal. And in my mind, I'm trying to process thoughts quick. I'm like, okay, you have to make a decision right now. This is going to be the biggest decision of your life. You have to make it right now. There's no turning back. You're either going to be with God or you're not. And this is your chance to make your choice. So I looked him right in the face, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm a Christian now. And I'm like thinking, here it comes. You know what I mean? Any minute, I'm about to get punched. I'm about to get whacked, something. Homeboy hugged me. He gave me a hug, and he's like, all right, you got our blessing. And all the other dudes all came and gave me a hug. And he says, but you know the rules. He goes, you know what's up. He goes, if you do something you're not supposed to be doing, if you get caught doing something you're not supposed to be doing, you know what the consequences are. And I was like, yeah, bro, I know. I fully know. And he's like, and you're sure? He goes, this is the decision you want to make. I said, I'm sure. I'm a Christian brother now. And they were like, all right, cool. And they gave me a hug. They walked off, and that was it, bro. I never had any problems. From that point forward, from that day forward, I no longer introduced myself as Naughty Boy from Palmas. I started introducing myself as Jim, Brother Jim, or just Jim. Whenever somebody drove up, knew that I had knew from back in the day at a different prison, first thing I would do was pull them to the side. Hey, bro, let me talk to you. I'd pull them to the side, sit them down, and I'd be like, look, I'm not Naughty anymore. I go by Jim now. I'm a Christian. And the reason I'm telling you this is to give you the option that if you don't want to mess with me no more because I'm a Christian, then that's cool. I'm not going to be offended by that. I just want you to know up front that I ain't the same person you knew. And if you don't want to function with me no more, hey, I'm cool. No offense. I won't take it wrong, but I'm leaving the ball in your court. And out of maybe 6 to 8 people that I did that with, not a single one had anything negative to say, bro. They all just hugged me. Hey, I'm happy for you, bro. Do your thing. So yeah, that's how my Christian walk started in prison, bro. That's how I started walking with the Lord in prison.
Man, it just I've kind of been through what you've been through in a sense. I didn't do as much time as you, man. But bro, before we go on with your story, it's amazing that prison usually makes you a racist, man, hardcore. And tell us about your mindset, man, and what started to change. You started to see all these other races, man, and they're just as beautiful,
What really did it for me was when I started taking, because I had said earlier in the last video, out here where I grew up at, blacks and Mexicans kind of kicked it together in the early and mid 80s because there wasn't a lot of us, and there was a lot of stuff going on with the whites out here. In the late 80s, the blacks and Mexicans, we kind of started bumping heads a little bit because that's when gangbanging really started going on out here. So we would be beefing over territory and over drug spots and all that kind of stuff. So when I got to prison, and then now, it's exclusively we're affiliated with the whites, or we have, a peace treaty with the white boys or whatever, and you don't function with the blacks. Over all those years of doing whole time and all that, I did build up an animosity towards them, not a hatred or not because they were black, but just because I was taught that's the enemy. And, there was things that went on, riots and all that kind of stuff. So I did build up this wall. But once I got down to level 2 and started taking these classes with other lifers, I'm hearing their stories because they're in the same boat. We're all in the same trench now of trying to fight for our freedom. We all have the same goal that we want to go home. So we're taking these classes together and we're telling stories of our childhood and how we grew up and things we've experienced. And I start seeing that they lived no different than me. They had the same issues growing up, same problems, same family drama, same everything. You know what I mean? We were the same. And especially now at the point where I became a Christian and I'm understanding God created all of us the same. God loves us all. There's no difference just because our skin tones are different. Just because maybe we grew up in different places or whatever, we're all God's children and he loves us all. And I started, as Christians what we're supposed to do is emulate Christ. We're supposed to be Christ-like. So trying to love everybody, you know what I mean? We want to love everybody. But what really, like I said, what really helped me to start seeing everybody equal was the fact that we're all in this struggle together of trying to gain our freedom. I'm making friends with people of other races in these classes and in these board prep classes. We're praying over dudes that are going to the board the next morning. The night before, we're praying for them. And they go to the board, and sometimes they come back smiling and happy. Sometimes they come back broken because they got denied. So I'm seeing it's humanizing. Seeing these things and experiencing these things is humanizing everybody in my mind. You know what I mean?
Wow, that's incredible, bro. Just I was thinking about this last night, man. I was just thinking about I got some friends who are from East Coast Crips in LA, and I just remember them inviting me to his son's graduation. And I went there to the graduation, man, and it was just a beautiful thing. I took my daughter, my wife, and bro, just the love I got, man. It's just so beautiful, bro. That different ethnicity. It's just it's a beautiful thing, man. And I'm glad God's changed my heart because I was a devout racist, man, and I love everybody, man. Everybody's unique and different, man.
Right.
It's cool, man. So continue with your story, bro. Continue. So this is happening, and then take us through, man.
So now I'm functioning, fully as a Christian. I'm going to church. I'm carrying my Bible around. I'm praying for people. I'm talking to people. I'm starting to get involved in the ministry, and that's where this comes in. Our little church there was called Pillar of Fire. That was the name of the church there. And the people that were involved with it when they got out started this little church in San Diego. So that was the ministry I was involved with. It was a Pillar of Fire church. I started ushering, became an usher, started getting involved in the ministry really tough. And so that became my focus all the time. It was church and board prep, getting ready to go to the board, So here comes 2013. My first board hearing comes up. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I wasn't sure that I was really prepared. So I go to my first board hearing in 2013. The hearing is probably about 3-4 hours long. It's a long process where they're just grilling you, bro. Questions. And they start from your infancy all the way to present day, right? Your past, your present, your future. So I go through the board hearing and we get to the deliberation point. So a CO escorts me out. They put me in a little holding tank, and the 3 board members are in there deliberating about what they're going to do, if they're going to give me a date or not.
I'm sorry. Is this your first board meeting?
Yes, it's my first board hearing in 2013.
And you've already been in jail like 20 years?
Yeah. Well, because of I was actually supposed to start going to the board after 19 years, but because of the shoe terms I did and the trouble I was getting into, all the 115s I was getting, I was losing my good time credits. So it kept pushing it back. So I'm in this, it's a deliberation period. I'm in this little holding tank. They're in there deciding my fate. They're deciding my future. For a lot of people don't really understand how serious a board hearing is. It's like, imagine a job interview and the position you're applying for is free citizen. You know what I mean? It's a job interview to become a free citizen. And these commissioners want to be confident that they could have you as their next door neighbor. If you can't make them feel confident that you could be their next door neighbor, You're not going anywhere. So anyway, I'm in the holding tank. They're deliberating. And of course, you know what Christians do, what people do when they're in a time of stress and in a time of need. I got on my knees. I started praying. And my prayer was very self-centered. My prayer was, God, please let me go home. I want to go home. I miss my family. I miss my friends. I want to get back out there and enjoy life. And I was just, God, please let me go home. I want to go home. So they came. They called me back in. They sit me down and they tell me, they deny me. They deny me parole. Wow. They said they feel that I'm still a threat to society, that I'm still a risk of dangerousness to society if they were to let me out. And so they deny me 3 years, which is the minimum denial period they can give you. There's a range of time they can deny you for. They can deny you for 3 years, 5, 7, 10, and 15. I've seen some dudes get 15-year denials, 10-year denials. Wow. That's like starting your time all over again, bro. Yeah. So in a way, I was happy. Yeah, I was sad that they denied me, but they gave me the minimum denial. I was going to come back for another board hearing in 3 years. So I was looking at that as a win, I was like, cool, 3 years, it's nothing. I've been down 20-something years already. 3 more years is nothing. So I was like, cool, okay, cool. I go back, I get back to the yard. Everybody's like, what happened? And that's when it really started hitting me. I was like, man, they denied me. I started crying. I got on the phone. I called my mom. What happened, son? What happened? I'm like, I'm sorry, Mom. They denied me. She broke down, you know what I mean? And it hurt to have to call and tell her that. But, she broke down. And I had to explain to her, it's just not God's timing yet, Mom. You know what I mean? When God's ready, when he thinks I'm ready, I'll be coming home. So I continue on with, living my life the way I was, going to school, going to these classes, functioning in church. And like I said, they had denied me 3 years. This is 2013. So I'm not expecting to go back to the board till 2016. A year later, 2014, I get a notice in the mail. And this is how good God is, how God works. I get a notice in the mail saying, we're going to take you back to board. They told me, I didn't file nothing. I didn't write nobody, petition, get a lawyer, none of that. The board just decided they wanted to see me again. And not in the 3 years they had said, a year later. So when I got that notice a year later, it gave me a hearing date that was 6 months from the time I got the notice. So a year and a half from the time I had went to board, I'm going back. Okay, and again, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, obviously that's miracles working right there.
That's miracles.
Okay, I want to ask you something. This may be a bad question because we're flowing, bro. Are the victim's family attending the parole hearings?
No, they're not. And not to sound cruel or insensitive or nothing, but that was good for me. You know what I mean? Yes. That was helpful for me. They never attended anything, court hearings. Never, from the day I got arrested, they never were in any of the court hearings. They weren't at my sentencing, none of that kind of stuff. I don't know, why, what. I never looked into it, but they weren't. And that does make a difference in people's parole hearings, because I know people that are repeatedly denied because the family does come and protest outside the prison and all kind of stuff, and it hurts you in a parole hearing. So I was blessed in that way. So I got that letter. I have a new parole hearing date set, half of the 3 years that they had told me. So it's now 2015, January of 2015. I go back to the parole board. Same kind of process, different parole commissioners, but same kind of process. Another 3-hour hearing, grilling me about everything I've ever done in my life, grilling me about my behavior early on in prison, about my shoe turns, about all my 115s, grilling me about my education, what I was doing presently, what I plan to do if I was ever let out, what were my parole plans, where would you live, where would you work, what would you do, the whole thing, bro. So here we come again, deliberation time. And they take me to that holding cell. Excuse me. They take me to the holding cell, and I got on my knees again. But this time my prayer was, God, if you want me to stay in here for the rest of my life and serve you, I'll do that. But if you have something for me to do, send me home to do it. Sorry. So I go back in, and they start reading some legal stuff, and I'm really not tripping off. They're talking penal codes and this and that. And he gets to the part where he says, "We find that you're no longer a danger to society, and we find you suitable for parole." And I did what I'm doing right now. I just broke down, started crying.
Can I ask? Did you have a lawyer, or were you there on your own, or?
So the first time I went to board, my mom hired a lawyer. We paid for a lawyer when I got denied. This time I went back with the state appointed. I didn't want my mom to waste her money again, because I didn't, still wasn't sure they would ever give me a date. So I didn't want my mom to be out all that money again. I went with the state, excuse me. I went with the state appointed, and they granted me a date. The lawyer really doesn't do a whole lot, bro. In a parole hearing, the lawyer is not as much of the hearing as people think. It's really up to the lifer. If the lifer has put in the work, if they've been doing the right things, if they know how to articulate why they became the person that could commit such a crime, and how they've changed, why they've changed. That's what it's really about. The lawyer is really there basically to just make sure your rights are not violated. They might speak up every once in a while, but really they don't do a whole lot, bro. Really, had I known, the first time I was going to board, what it was like and all that, I wouldn't have had my mom hire one the first time. I would have went with a state appointed either way. But yeah, bro. So they told me they're finding me suitable for parole. All I could do was cry. I keep saying, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." They read off some more legal stuff. And then this is the part that people really don't know about. I didn't really understand at the time either. But so the parole board, they don't have the final say. They're just making a recommendation to the governor. The governor has the final say. So basically what they did was they recommended me for parole to the governor. So now there's a 6-month period that you have to wait to find out what's officially going to happen. 4 months, excuse me, it's a 5-month period. 4 months for the full board to review the transcripts from the hearing and make sure everything was done properly and all that. And then the governor has the last 30 days to decide whether to go with their recommendation or to overturn it. So, this is interesting too. I had 25 to life for the murder, 5 for the gun. So when you go to board, when you get found suitable, what they do is they set your term, because you have an indefinite sentence. You have life. So there's no actual date of how long you're supposed to do. So they set that time at the hearing. So they determined that my crime, that I should do 29 years for my crime. Well, I only had 24 in. So I was going to owe 5 years still. If the governor decided to let their recommendation stand, I was still going to have to do 5 more years. But to me, that was cool. 5 more years, I can do that, asleep. I'm not tripping. 5 more years, I was happy, just hoping that the governor let it stand, right? So the time goes by. It's like 5 months down the road. And I'm in the cube one day, cleaning. And they call my name over the loudspeaker. "McGrath, report to the program office." So I hear that and I'm tripping. I'm like, oh, dang, man. Because usually, I don't know how it was, when you did time, but if they're calling you over the loudspeaker to the program office, it's never a good thing. You're either in trouble or they're giving you bad news that one of your family members passed away or something like that. It's never good to go to the program office, right? So they call my name, "Report to the program office." And one of the brothers in my cube, he's like, "Hey, fool, you're going home." And I was like, "Nah, it's too early. It's still, the governor still has time." I go, "It's probably something to do with my mom." And I started getting scared. I'm thinking, oh man, my mom passed away. So he's like, "Nah, fool, you're going to go home, watch." So I push over there to the program office. I go and knock on the door. And the clerk comes and he's like, I tell him, I knew him. I'm like, "Hey, bro, they called me." And he was like, "Yeah, hold on." So he went and got the counselor, and they come and they're like, "You're McGrath? Yeah, come in." So I go in, he tells me, "Sit down." And I'm thinking it's all bad, you know what I mean? I'm just like, "Dang, bro, my mom," you know what I mean? And he tells me, "Hey," he goes, "You're the clerk in the college program, right?" I tell him, "Yeah." He says, "You like your job?" I said, "Yeah, I like my job." And he says, "Well, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to take you out of that spot." So now I'm tripping. I'm like, take me out of my spot. Why? What's up? What I do? He's like, you're going home next week. Bro, I owed 5 years, man. He tells me you're going home next week. And here we go again with the watery eyes. And I fell to the floor right there and just, he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, man. I'm crying. I'm like, don't play with me, man. Don't play with me. He goes, you're going home next week. I need you to sign these parole papers. He goes, I don't know for sure if it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday of next week, but you're going home next week. He goes, I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm like, all right, cool. So I signed all the parole papers, everything he has for me. And I left from the program office, and the chapel right there, our little church, our little pillar of fire church, was right next door. So I came running out of the program office straight into the chapel. And I'm crying, bro. I'm crying. I can barely even talk. And the brothers are like, what's wrong, fool? What's wrong? And I'm like, no, I'm trying to get it out, but I can't talk. They're like, what's wrong? Come on, what's wrong? I'm going home. And everybody just started clapping, and I ran into the sanctuary to where the altar is at, threw myself on the ground in front of the altar, and I was just crying and praising God, thanking God. Stayed right there for a few minutes, finally collected myself, went back to the building. And the next day, they called me back to the program. They called me back. So I go over there, and he tells me, okay, it's going to be Wednesday of next week. Get your ride situated and all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I took off, literally running across the yard back to the building, went and got on the phone. I called my mom, and my mom answers, and I'm like, Mom, what are you doing next Wednesday? And she's like, working. Why? What's up? Is everything okay? I said, yeah. I said, but I'm going to need a ride home. And she's like, you what? I said, I'm going to need a ride home Wednesday. Can you come? And all I heard was the phone drop. Right? I'm like, Mom. She gets back on the phone and she's crying. She's like, don't play with me, mijo. What do you? I said, Mom, I need you to come pick me up next Wednesday. I'm coming home. So I had a week left to do. It was surreal, bro. It was like I didn't know what to do. What do I do for this next week? And then I had always heard, I never saw it, but I had always heard that, there's going to be haters, and people are going to try to come mess with you and get you in trouble so you lose your date. And by the grace of God, none of that happened. I did my little last week. I gave all my stuff away. I had the brothers in the chapel sign my Bible. Everybody signed, wrote a little message in my Bible. I took a little notebook around the dorm and had all my friends, write a little message to me. And that morning came. The night before, I got my little ducat. Everybody with the whole building, everybody was clapping. They called me to get my ducat. I held up my little release ducat. Everybody's clapping. That next morning came, 6 a.m. I started throwing my little bags. Pushed on out the door, got escorted to R&R, sat there in R&R for about an hour, getting processed. A little handful of dudes were getting processed too. And they had just done a little bit of time, a couple of years or a few months, whatever. So they were like, hey, what's up, OG? You're a lifer? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you're going home? Yeah. How long did you do? 24 years. They were tripping. They were like, dang. So it came time, to actually get released. So they walk us outside. They put us on a little van. They drive us out to the little release area. I'm getting off the van, and there's my mom and my brother and my niece standing right there. I hopped out. I put my little bag down, started crying, went and hugged my mom. My brother got it on video. If anybody's subscribed to my channel, or you want to go check my channel out, I have the video right there of me getting off the little van. It's a real grainy video. It's 2015. My brother didn't have no iPhone or nothing like that, so the video is not that clear. But you can see me holding my face, crying, walk over, hug my mom. Yeah, bro.
Before you go on, just so after all, you guys be sure you subscribe to Change Man for Life on YouTube, man. You got to subscribe, man, and hear other stories like this. So, but go ahead.
Check me out. Go ahead and check me out. You can see that video on there where I got released. So I'm hugging my mom, hugging my brother, my niece. The CO comes over and tells my brother, hey, you can't be filming on prison property. So we shut the video off. So I hop in the car, and the first thing I want to go do is eat, bro. I want to go get some real food, So we're in Blythe. It's the city of Blythe right there. So I go to a Denny's. There's a Denny's right there. Go to that Denny's. We go and get a booth, and we're sitting there, and I'm just tripping on everything, bro. I'm looking around. I'm in a gray slingshot. I'm in a gray tank top with the gray shorts on and my tennis shoes. I just paroled in some regular old prison clothes. lifers really, at least at that time, didn't get parole clothes sent in because you don't know what's actually going to happen. There were dudes that their date got pulled the day before they were supposed to go. You know what I mean? So I didn't have no clothes sent in. I just went out and some of my yard stuff that I had. I'm sitting there in the Denny's. The waitress comes and she brings menus. She brings the silverware is rolled up in a napkin. She brings the silverware and puts it in front of us, right? I open it up and bro, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. I opened a little silverware roll up, and I guess it must have shown on my face because my mom was like, "Mijo, what's wrong?" And I whispered, "I'm like, there's a knife in here. The steak knife. There was a steak knife in the silverware roll." And I'm like, "They're trying to set me up." In my mind, they're trying to send me back. Bro, I'm fresh. Literally, I'm like an hour out of doing 24 years in prison, and there's a steak knife in my silverware roll, and I don't know how to handle that because I'm so institutionalized and not knowing what's going on. I was literally scared and in a panic because there was a steak knife in my silverware roll. So we order. I'll still remember I ordered me a ham and cheese omelet. Best thing I ever tasted in my life. Knocked that thing back. We finished eating. We got in the car, got on the highway, started heading home. I had my phone book that I was bringing home with me, and my mom gave me her cell phone. So I was calling some of the other lifers that had already got out, and I'm in the backseat of the car, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm out. What's up?" My mom called my nephew, and she was like, "Hey, we came and picked your Theo up." And he didn't believe her. He's like, "Send me a picture." So my mom takes a picture of me, sends it to him. It was it was a long drive, bro. I don't remember how many hours, like 4 or 5 hour drive. We're driving, and I got released in June, so it's hot. And this car that we were in, my mom's car, she had been driving up and down the state to visit me. When I was in New Folsom, she went to visit me. When I was in Salinas Valley, so this car had miles on it. The car breaks down 20 minutes from our house. Like 20 minutes from home, the car breaks down. We had to call AAA to come give us a tow. So the last 20 minutes of my ride home was in a tow truck. We pulled up to the house. Some more of my family was there, came out, greeted me. We ordered dinner. We ordered this big old giant pizza. It was like a 32-inch huge pizza. Yeah, and that was my first day home, bro. I was just tripping on food. That night, I could hardly sleep. I was on Facebook till like 3 o'clock in the morning, reconnecting with people. Hey, I'm home. You know what I mean? I'm out. And yeah, bro, that was me coming home.
So you got out, man. That's pretty amazing. Man, you must have been old school, bro, because I don't think no one would have chose Denny's as their first meal, brother.
Right,
I might.
right.
Everybody would think In and Out or something, man.
That was the closest thing that I'd seen was a Denny's. I was like, let's go.
And then, man, so you're married now, right?
Yeah, I'm married. I'm actually married. My wife and I are childhood friends. We know each other from high school. We've been married 4 years now. We got married in 2018. I got out in 2015. I went to a halfway house. So I went to my mom's that first day. I had to go check in with my parole agent the next day, and then he gave me 1 day to report to the transitional home. So I went to a transitional home. I was supposed to do, and again, another one of the many miracles throughout my story. I was supposed to be in the transitional home for 6 months, but they let me out after 3. Because a lot of guys in the transitional home, the whole purpose of them being there is to find a job, find a place to live, get established. Well, I had all that. My mom owns her own business, so she had a job waiting for me. I was going to live at her pad or my brother's pad. So really the transitional home was holding me back from making progress. And when I expressed that to my parole agent, he was like, "Okay, I see your point, but we have to talk to my supervisor." So the reentry home I was in Hollywood. Yeah. So I had to jump on the bus from Hollywood and go to Van Nuys where my parole agent was. And we went, I talked to his supervisor. I explained it to him like, "Look, this program is just holding me up. I have a job waiting for me, place to live, car, everything." So they ended up letting me out of the halfway house after 3 months, bro. During those 3 months that I was there, I was able to get weekend passes. So every Friday, my mom would drive out here from the Antelope Valley, drive to Hollywood, pick me up, bring me back out here. I'd spend the weekend out here. That's where I started going to church at Victory Outreach, which is my home church, Victory Outreach Palmdale. I started going to church right there. So every weekend when I would come out, I'd go to church every Sunday, and then I had to be back to the home in Hollywood by Sunday night. So that was my program for 3 months. And then once I got out of the halfway house and moved, in full time with my mom, started working, started attending church regularly, and just got in the flow of life, bro. Just got in the flow of life. I've now been home for 7 years. I'm blessed, as you said. I'm married to a beautiful Christian woman, have a good job, live in my own spot, still attending church, part of the leadership of the church. We're just blessed, bro.
No niños.
So I inherited one when I married my wife. I
Awesome.
inherited her youngest. He's now 12, my son. Raising him as mine, you know what I mean? I don't refer to him as he's not my stepson. He's my son, you know what I mean?
Right.
I just inherited him, but he's my son. Just like my first son is in his 30s. My other son, he was 3 when I went to prison. He was 3 years old. When I came home, he was 27 with his own kids. So I got grandkids. Between my wife and I, we have 7 grandkids. So we're just blessed, bro. We're blessed, just living life. I go to work, I go to church, I come home. That's my life, you know what I mean? Occasionally we, do go out and enjoy ourselves and have a little fun, but my focus is my family and church. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, so once in a while we go check out a game. We go check out a game or go to training camp or whatever. But yeah, bro, I'm just blessed, bro. And what I really, really want the viewers to know is that no matter what situation you're in, no matter how hopeless it might seem to you, I want to let you know, I want you guys to look me in the face when I tell you there's nothing that God cannot work out in your life. I was totally lost and bound in drug addiction, gang affiliation, that gang lifestyle. I was sitting in prison with a life sentence, yet here I am today by the mercy and grace of God, sitting here in my own home with my wife, church, family, just truly blessed because I gave my life to God and let him work in and through me. Am I perfect? Absolutely not, and I never will be. Is the Christian life easy? Absolutely not, and it never will be. But there is nothing that you're going through, fam. Anybody out there that's dealing with addiction, anybody that's caught up in that street lifestyle, anybody that's dealing with suicidal thoughts or depression, there's nothing, I mean nothing, that Jesus cannot turn around. Jesus has a hope and a plan for your life. He wants to do great things in and through you if you would just turn to him and give him the opportunity. Jesus loves you, fam, and there's so much more to life than being caught up in them streets.
Oh, man, that's cool, man. We appreciate that. And, the only thing when I re-upload this video, I'm going to have to edit out the Cowboys.
Come on, bro.
It's kind of like.
Don't do me like that.
That's kind of like cussing, like,
come on, bro.
I'm just playing, bro. Nah, man, what a great story, man. And don't think this is the last you're going to see of Change Man for Life on our channel. I got something going in the background where hopefully we're going to be back next week with a few people. So, man, bro, I got a few last questions for you, man. Before
of course, anything.
And these are just fun questions. I did it earlier with another interview, and I want to do it with you. And I want to thank everybody, man. If anybody got any questions, too, before we close, drop them now, man. I just want to say what's up to Artie, Sergio, Ron, Sneaky Beanie, man, JM, man, Alberto, King Kong, man. Thank you, man, for all your support all the time, man. We appreciate it. And I want you guys to know, man, that we really do we put the stories up that have a positive ending because we really do believe in outreach. We really do believe in outreach, that the stories matter. And some of the times, like I bring it up King Kong, because he donates to the channel. Sometimes what we do is we take some of this money and we'll take a trip, like me, let's say Joe or somebody, and we'll go do interviews that we could put up. It helps us pay for the gas and stuff. So, man, we appreciate all that stuff. Unseek, Sneaky Beanie, Farmero, thank you, brother, too. Andrew Martinez, Capo Regime. Already said Ron. Tino, the Mino, Nestor Munoz. Man, Droops, always supporting, brother. Appreciate you. Andrew Martinez again. Joe Castro, my buddy. My dog right there. Let's see, go down. I don't want to miss no one. Ladder Loose, man. Angel from the Spirit Drum, what's up? Monroe, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you, Monroe. Mondo Castillo. Um, let's see. Lupe. Yeah. Were you ever in Ironwood in 0506?
Yep. CR.
Somebody right here says you look familiar. Lupe says you look familiar. Went through Ironwood 0506.
That was me. I was right there on the CR.
Yeah, man. So hey, keep tapping in, Lupe. We're gonna have more stuff. But here's a couple of questions, man. This is just fun stuff. It's not necessarily, some of them are, some of the questions are spiritual, some are not.
Right.
So just fun stuff, man.
Of course.
And, yeah, Lupe says he was in Sea Yard.
I was there.
All right, man. Lupe, where were you from, man? Did you have a nickname? So here we go with the questions, brother. This is gonna test. This is gonna how we're gonna know the true you. See if you're really from SoCal.
Uh-oh.
Blood in, blood out, or American Me?
Come on, bro. I've seen them both, but I really don't like get into them just because of I'm trying to kind of like distance myself from that part of my life. But if we're talking entertainment value,
That's all it is.
if we're talking just for entertainment value, blood in, blood out, blow. There's lines from that movie that just crack me up. I'll watch certain just clips on YouTube just to laugh, bro, because some of it's hilarious. But now if you're talking more like which one is more realistic and all that, of course American Me. But just for comedy value, for just to sit back and laugh, some of those lines that what's his name? Is his name Al, the white dude he works in the kitchen? Some of his lines, yeah, bro. I just be busting up.
Cheesy acting, but it was funny.
Cheesy acting, hilarious.
That shows you are from SoCal because you chose that one. All right, man. He says Lupe says he was from Logan. He was from Logan. He was in the building with Old Man Huesos from Santa Paula.
I was in the same building. Chito was my celly.
Yeah. So man, here's the next one, brother. Cake or ice cream?
Bro. Depends the occasion, but I'm gonna go with ice cream, bro.
All right, man.
I'm gonna go with ice cream.
Your favorite Bible scripture?
So before you go to the board, you go to a psych hearing. You spend about 6 hours in a psychiatric evaluation, and they've been heard from thousands of lifers. Oh, I'm a Christian now. You know what I mean? And I'm sure maybe back in the 70s and 80s, they just said, "Oh, okay." Now, they know people are just using that as an excuse to get out. So that's one of the questions they ask you. Oh, you're a Christian? Really? What's your favorite Bible verse? My favorite Bible verse is 1 Corinthians, and I always get it switched up, 13:11 or 11:13. When I was a child, I thought as a child, I spoke as a child. You know what I mean? And then the ending of the verse is, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. That's my favorite verse right there.
Right on, man.
1 Corinthians 13:11.
All right. This is going to be last two questions, brother. You have a Mount Rushmore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mount Rushmore. Who has influenced your life the most in a spiritual way? Who would you put on that Mount Rushmore of your life?
Of course, the first face on there is going to be Jesus himself.
Can't use Jesus, man.
Oh, come on, bro.
He created the mountain, okay?
It's going to be hard because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. But there are certain people from early in my Christian walk, from our little church in prison, that influenced me greatly, that guided me along in my walk. And I know this is going to be a cop-out answer, but I don't want to name anybody specifically, bro, because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings or nothing like that. But I can picture in my mind right now four men in particular that were lifers with me, that were in prison with me, that guided me in the early days of my walk with the Lord and learning about the Christian faith and learning how to be a man of God. They were and we're still friends to this day. We still communicate to this day. They know that right there. That tells it all right there. They know who they are. But yeah, bro, it's 4 lifers that I was with in prison. They were very instrumental in my early walk with the Lord.
Cool. Somebody's asking, did you know Larry from Clanton? He was a
Yep.
lifer,
Sure did.
and he's out. He's out now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's my boy. I know Larry very well.
Cool, man. And then the last question. How early are the Dallas Cowboys going to be knocked out of the playoffs?
This year, bro, I'm gonna say they make it at least to the second round. They make it at least to the second round this year, bro.
I'm just playing, brother.
I'm hoping NFC Championship, but at least the second round.
Hey, man, I'm just joking, bro.
No, it's all good, bro.
But you know, it's been a blessing, man, having you on, brother. And like I said, Lord willing, we're going to be on next week if all the scheduling works out, man.
That's right.
So I want to thank you for coming on, bro. Appreciate it. Appreciate you so much, man. It's been a blessing. People have loved your story.
Amen.
And,
for the glory of God.
Yeah, man. Like I said, we're going to put this back up again tomorrow afternoon. Which will be Friday afternoon, about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So look out for that, man. And just thanks again, man. And you have a good night.
Of course, it was a pleasure meeting you, bro. I'm sure we'll connect and do some other things down the line. Appreciate everybody. Go check my channel out. Please subscribe to my channel. We're trying to build it up. I'm on a positive tip. I don't really do prison war stories. I'm just more talking about, preaching the gospel and promoting positive change in people's life. If you don't mind, Paul, I do want to mention the fundraiser I'm doing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, please,
for my church right now, for Victory Outreach, we do a fundraiser every year. It's called Run for Hope. If I think you have the link in your description or something, and it's definitely on my channel. If people go and check the video out, I got a video where I'm raising funds, and these funds don't come to me. They don't even come to my local home church. They go to Victory Outreach International, and it's used to plant churches all around the world to build men's and women's recovery homes, just to spread the gospel, pull young people away from gang life, and just do good, throughout the world. So if people would sponsor me in that, I'd really appreciate it. You'll be doing a great service, helping to spread the gospel around the world.
Yeah, man. So please, before you guys go, man, please go over there and go to his channel, Change Man for Life. It's right there on the screen. Subscribe to it. And also, man, if you want to, man, help him out with that walk he's doing. That walk, what's it called? Walk for Life?
Run for Hope.
Run for Hope, man. The stuff's going to be down there at the bottom. We're going to add it there, but you can find it on his page also on his Instagram. I believe, are you under the same name on Instagram, Change Man for Life?
Yes.
Change Man for Life everywhere. So just follow that, guys. I thank everyone who stayed with us, everyone who watched and hit the thumbs up. If you haven't, do so. It really helps us out, man. So much love. God bless. Don't hang up, man. Don't hang up. Thank you, everyone watching, bro.
God bless you guys.